In late 2007, the Iraq War is winding down, President Bush has proclaimed victory, and reconstruction efforts are underway. Sergeant Matthews and his spotter Sergeant Isaac are assigned to a pipeline project in the heart of the Iraqi desert. All the Americans working at the site have been killed, so now it is their task to identify the perpetrator before new workers are sent. The soldiers conceal themselves behind a cluster of bushes and rocks to observe the site under the scorching sun, and 20 hours pass without anything occurring. Matthews begins growing frustrated and starts to think there are no Iraqi soldiers left. And based on the scattered corpses, the site must have been attacked by a team that departed after completing their mission. Isaac points out there are no signs suggesting a large group moving around here and notes that, because all the workers were killed by headshots, this could have been the work of the legendary expert Iraqi marksman known as Juba. However, Matthews believes it is impossible for anyone to kill this many people in under 30 seconds. Eventually, Matthews grows tired of waiting and decides to go down for a closer look at the site after asking Isaac to cover for him. Isaac mentions his scope is becoming blurry and Matthews jokes about him not replacing it sooner, but this scope is important to Isaac because it once belonged to a fallen comrade. Then Matthews moves from body to body searching for clues and begins to believe Isaac's theory when he confirms everyone died from precise headshots. He walks to the center of the site to determine the possible direction of the shots while Isaac urges him to retreat, but suddenly a shot rings out and Matthews collapses to the ground, experiencing intense pain in his abdomen. Desperate to assist his friend, Isaac runs in a zigzag pattern to dodge any incoming bullets, but as he is about to reach Matthews, he is shot in the leg. Isaac has no choice but to leave Matthews behind and sprint to take cover behind a collapsed wall. Suffering but still conscious, Matthews contacts Isaac and tells him to call the base and request backup. However, Isaac first notices his leg wound is quite severe, so he proceeds to tie a belt around it to stop the bleeding. Then he grabs his radio bag and attempts to contact the base, only to find he has no signal because the sniper had shot the antenna. Suddenly, Matthews contacts him again and asks him to locate the sniper so he can target him, disregarding Isaac's warning that the sniper will detect any movement and shoot him again. Isaac begins working on creating a hole in the wall with his knife to insert the scope, only to injure his hand from some falling rocks. Matthews then tries to reach for his rifle, only to lose consciousness due to blood loss. Not wanting to meet the same fate as his friend, Isaac uses a blade to remove the bullet from his leg, which is an intensely painful procedure. Then he bandages the wound before passing out himself sometime later. Isaac awakens when he hears an unusual sound coming from his earpiece. It turns out to be an officer from the base, and Isaac immediately starts reporting the situation and pleading for medical supplies. However, he becomes suspicious when the officer asks him several strange questions and most notably, requests him to either tell them his exact location or stand up and fire into the air, claiming it is necessary for the helicopters to drop the supplies accurately. Isaac points out that this goes against protocol and would put him in danger, and when he begins focusing more on the man's words, he realizes his accent is not American. This is Juba the sniper, who has infiltrated the radio frequencies to attempt setting a trap. Isaac doesn't fall for it and calls him out, but instead of ending the call, Juba begins asking him questions, claiming he wants to understand Isaac better. Isaac tries the radio again, but it's still not functioning. Juba persists with his trivial questions, and when Isaac refuses to engage, Juba threatens to shoot Matthews again, which is risky, because there's a chance he might still be alive. Isaac agrees to talk for a while and asks Juba to start, while he begins sketching a map of the site in the dirt to calculate the bullet trajectory and determine the sniper's potential location. Juba tells him he's just an ordinary Iraqi citizen who wants to save his country and asks Isaac to share details about his family, but Isaac points out that's too personal. Then Isaac mocks Juba's reasoning, saying that he's killing the people who are actually working to develop the country by bringing schools, pipelines, and infrastructure that will boost the local economy. This causes Juba to laugh, and he explains that the money earned here will eventually be sent back to the USA. As time goes on, Juba keeps asking questions, but Isaac continues to refuse to share anything personal about himself, leading Juba to threaten to shoot Matthews again. However, Isaac no longer believes him. To prove he is dangerous, Juba tells Isaac the name of the previous owner of the scope and that he is dead, quoting Matthews' earlier teasing. This means Juba has been listening to their conversation since they arrived. Using his scope, Isaac notices one of the deceased men has a radio with him and drags his body to the edge of the wall. But even with a piece of wood, he wouldn't be able to reach it without exposing himself. Next, Isaac tries to drink some water from his bottle, only to discover it's empty due to a hole in it, which Juba confirms he caused intentionally. He also admits he didn't miss any shots. He deliberately shot the bottle, the antenna, and Isaac's leg to place Isaac in an inescapable predicament and make him die slowly, which he will enjoy hearing through the communicator. When Isaac finds the bullet he removed from his leg, he inspects it more closely and begins calculating the type of weapon Juba is using by asking some subtle questions. He also calls Juba a terrorist, which causes Juba to laugh once more as he points out that the Americans are the ones illegally invading a foreign country with weapons ready to kill people. While Juba speaks, Isaac continues his calculations and peers through his scope to ultimately conclude that Juba is hiding under a massive heap of trash. He has been enduring these harsh conditions for quite some time, not to mention the intense heat, which means this person truly is a professional. However, Juba denies being the renowned sniper and once again asserts that he is just an ordinary Iraqi man. Based on his accent, Isaac suspects Juba might be a former U.S. Army officer who betrayed them, but Juba rejects this idea as well and explains he only kills those who attack him first. In return, Isaac shares the account of how he met his closest friend when he was a child and how they enlisted together later as adults. Soon, dehydration and exhaustion begin having a severe effect on Isaac, who collapses to the ground as he hears Juba threaten to fasten his tongue to his chest. Next, Isaac tries to trick Juba by putting a jacket and helmet on his rifle and waving it above the barrier, but Juba does not fall for it. What does drop is the helmet, landing on the opposite side of the wall. So now Isaac cannot shield his head either. Such a foolish mistake is the breaking point and makes him cry. More time passes, and Isaac becomes desperate enough to attempt a risk. He dashes toward a corpse lying on the ground and snatches its bag and radio before sprinting back to the wall. As he dodges all the bullets, Juba instantly fires at him. In the bag, Isaac discovers water and some sweets that he immediately consumes, but unfortunately, this radio isn't functional either. Juba also punishes him for this gamble by shooting at the wall and significantly damaging his scope. Suddenly, Isaac hears some noise coming from his earpiece and realizes it is Matthews, who is still alive. Isaac shouts the sniper's position to him, and Matthews quickly takes out a piece of metal to use to observe the heap of garbage while Matthews moves extremely slowly to retrieve his rifle. Isaac keeps the sniper occupied by engaging in small talk, and he learns that Juba used to be an educator in Baghdad. When his students were killed during an American attack, he decided to seek vengeance. The wall Isaac is hiding behind is the remnants of said school. Then Juba asks Isaac why he keeps carrying the damaged scope, but since Isaac refuses to respond, Juba threatens to shoot Matthews again, desperate to save him. Isaac admits that he keeps the scope in remembrance of his old friend, who died because of a mistake Isaac made, and he still feels remorseful. Meanwhile, Matthews positions his rifle and blindly fires at the pile of debris, unloading all the bullets he has as Isaac fires too, to make it seem like the noise is coming from him. When Matthews is about to reload his weapon, Juba suddenly shoots him, hitting him directly on the shoulder. Isaac urges Matthews to crawl toward him to find shelter behind the wall, but tragically, when Isaac moves close to the edge to assist, Juba shoots Matthews in the head. Isaac is forced to witness him die and finally breaks down, saying he wants to go home. Juba tells Isaac that if he truly wants to leave, then he will not shoot him, but Isaac is doubtful. Later, Juba asks Isaac why he remains there despite the war being over. Isaac pauses for a moment before admitting he is there because it was actually he who killed his old companion. It turns out he accidentally shot his prior sniper partner while attempting to eliminate an enemy, and Isaac has been deceiving everyone, claiming his friend had been killed by the enemies. Suddenly, Isaac hears some noise emanating from the radio and rushes to check the signal, feeling delighted to hear conversations happening. However, his joy is short-lived because while he can hear voices, he cannot send any messages due to the damage the radio endured. To Isaac's astonishment, Juba joins the conversation he is hearing, and the man uses Isaac's name to request assistance. Isaac finally realizes that all this time, Juba has been infiltrating American communications, pretending to be a soldier in need of help to draw backup teams to the area and ambush them effortlessly thanks to the element of surprise. Isaac attempts to disrupt the conversation but fails. Sometime later, Isaac awakens to the agonizing sensation of a crow pecking at his leg wound. Realizing that even the birds assume he is already dead, Isaac decides to take a chance and retrieves Matthew's rifle using some rope and a stick. Then he points it at the heap of debris. At that moment, the helicopters arrive at the site and expose Isaac's position. Without realizing it is a trap hoping to protect the approaching soldiers. Isaac pushes the wall to make it collapse, creating a cloud of dust that makes it difficult for Juba to pinpoint Isaac's position. Isaac starts firing at the pile of debris without knowing if he has struck his target or not. In order to find out, Isaac finally rises from his position, and he is stunned to notice Juba is not taking this opportunity to fire back. This convinces Isaac that he has successfully killed Juba. Shortly after, the helicopters arrive and promptly carry Isaac away on a stretcher, immediately providing him with medical care. Isaac attempts to inform them about Juba, but he cannot be heard because of the roar from the helicopters lifting off. Suddenly, Juba begins firing at them, killing the medical personnel one by one before hitting the pilot as well. The helicopter swiftly descends and crashes onto the ground, instantly killing Isaac and allowing Juba to fulfill his promise. Technically, Isaac had not been shot. Then Juba infiltrates the USA lines again and pretends to be an American soldier to bait his next team of targets.